Hi, I'm Mr. Birnbaum, and today in chemistry we're going to learn how to do gram-to-gram solutions. So in this problem, we're going to start off with 2 moles of aluminum, 3 moles of NiBr2, and these two reactants are going to combine, and they're going to form 2 moles of AlBr3 and 3 moles of nickel. So we're going to start off with grams, and in this question we're going to start off with 1,095 grams of NiBr2. Now you're going to be given this in the problem, in the question, so you're not going to have to calculate this. What we need to find out is how many grams of nickel are we going to have at the end of this. So the BCA table stands for before the reaction, the change in the reaction, and then after the reaction. These numbers that go in the BCA table are all in the units of moles. So we can't put grams in this. So what we need to do first is convert 1,095 grams of NiBr2 into moles. So over here I've got some atomic weights, and these are from the periodic table, and they're just rounded off just so we can kind of go through the steps here. Let's take a look. So if I've got NiBr2, I need to find out how much a mole of it weighs. So if I come over here, Ni is 59 grams per mole, and I'm looking at the compound here, there's only one Ni. So I'm going to times this by 1. And I've got 2 Brs, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to times it by 2. So this will be 59, and then this will be 160. And then I'll add those two up, and I'll have 219 grams per mole. Okay, so in my question, if I've got 1,095 grams of NiBr2, and I know that for every 219 grams I'm going to have a mole, I have to figure out how many moles this is. So if I think about dividing this up into piles of 219 grams, how many piles am I going to have? So I'm going to group this out. So I'm going to go 1,095 grams, and I'm going to divide it by 219 grams per mole. And this is going to give me 5. My grams cancel, and I get 5 moles. Okay, so if I'm starting with 1,095 grams, that's the same as 5 moles. So before my reaction starts, I'm going to have 5 moles of NiBr2. Now how much aluminum do I have? Well, the question doesn't tell me, it just gives me this. So what I can do for now is put in XS, and XS is an abbreviation for excess. So what this means is I've got enough or more than enough of aluminum to combine with NiBr2 to use up the NiBr2 completely and then get my products. Okay? So I'm getting my aluminum out of the cupboard, my NiBr2 out of the cupboard, so I've got these two reactants. I haven't mixed them up yet. How many of this do I have? Well, I don't have any yet because I haven't mixed these two yet. The product is going to be made of the reactants. So before I begin, before I mix those up, I'm going to have 0 moles of AlBr3, and I'm also going to have 0 moles of nickel. Okay, so this is before the reaction. Now after the reaction, how much of the NiBr2 will I have? Well, I'm going to be using up all of this, so I won't have any left. And also I'm going to assume I'm going to use up all my aluminum, so I don't have any left there. So I've got 0 moles of each of those. So if I start off with 5 moles of NiBr2 and I end up with nothing, how many moles of NiBr2 did I use? Well, I used 5. So my change is minus 5. So I'm going to use this as my common number that I'm going to be converting from. all the way across. Now my excess, I'm going to end up with nothing. So I'm going to be losing 5, so I'm going to have a minus sign here. My product, I'm going to be gaining product, so I'm actually going to end up with some product here. So I'm going to be adding 5, and the same with this one. That will also be adding also. So I'm going to have some positive number down here. So now I need to see what is the relationship between these compounds, elements, and this one. So if I'm looking at my aluminum, and I've got 2 aluminums and 3 NiBr2s, is this number going to be smaller or larger than this number? Well, if I look up here, my aluminum is going to be smaller than the NiBr2. So if I take the numbers up here, the 2 and the 3, if I multiply this by 2/3 or 3/2, which will make it smaller? Well, if I multiply by 2/3, that will make it smaller. So I'm going to multiply it by 2/3. For every 2 of these, I'm going to have 3 of these. So this number will always be 2/3 of this number. So I've got 5 moles of NiBr2. So I'll have 2/3 as many moles as aluminum, so 2/3 times 5. So 2/3 times 5, that's going to be minus 3.3, like that. And then, of course, this is going to be 3/3, so that's going to be a minus 5. And then over here, we've got 2 AlBr3, so it's going to be 2/3 as many moles of this as this. And over here we've got 3/3. Okay. So this is going to be plus 3.3, and then this one is going to be plus 5. All right, so let's draw a line right there, just to keep our change in after separate. So if I started with no product and I added 3.3, I'm going to have 3.3 moles of AlBr3, and 0 plus 5, that will give me 5 moles of nickel. Okay, so if I have 5 moles of nickel, now I've got to figure out, grams to grams, I've got to figure out how many grams this is. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go 5 moles times, and then my nickel is 59 grams per mole. So I'm going to times that by 59 grams per mole. Okay, and my moles are going to cancel. And so when I multiply this out, I'm going to get 295 grams of nickel. So this will be my final answer right there. Right? So this is how you convert from grams to grams. We're given grams of one substance, and we solve for grams of another substance. Thank you for watching, and please do not subscribe to my channel or like this YouTube video. Bye-bye.